Hey guys, David Bernard here. I am going to be starting in just a few minutes. I'm just doing a little bit of a mic check here and a couple of housekeeping notes, and then we're going to have a complete update on Ian. So, I guess my audio is working because I got it coming out of my iPad. All right, I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Okay, hey everybody, I'm back with you. This is Chief Meteorologist David Bernard. I am doing a quick update from home on Hurricane Ian, and of course I'll be in later with Bruce Katz at Fox 8 News at 9 and 10. You know, after all the stuff that we've had the last couple of years, we've been bombarded by hurricanes. The last thing we want to see is for somebody else to get bombarded by hurricanes, but it looks like that is what's going to happen over the next 48 hours or so. As it appears, Hurricane Ian is on its way to being a major hurricane, and this could be a devastating blow to the west coast of Florida. It really depends on the next 24 hours on what kind of turn that takes toward the west coast of Florida, and that's going to have a lot to do with exactly how bad this hurricane could be. And I'm going to walk you through everything I'm concerned about. I'm also watching the comments here, and we're going to talk about Miami. We're going to talk about Orlando, Fort Myers, Tampa. I know people are traveling there, or they have a lot of family in Central and South Florida, so we're going to address all of that as we go through the maps over the next few minutes. Let's first start with the latest advisory. This just came in from the National Hurricane Center at 7 o'clock, and it's currently, if we take a look at it, it's got, let me go ahead and get my pointer going up here. It's got 100 mile per hour winds. All right, so that makes it a strong category 2. The pressure has dropped to 965. Generally, if we get below 960, that is going to be a category 3 hurricane. So it looks like Ian is on its way to being a category 3. It's about 130 miles southeast of the western tip of Cuba, and that's important. Look at the direction it's going, just west of due north. That means it's really not going to go over much land at all. It's generally going to stay out over the Gulf, and the mountains are not that high on this western tip. So I think that's going to be inconsequential to the future of what happens with Ian. Here we are by 1 p.m. tomorrow. It's in the southeastern Gulf. It's just south and west of Key West in the Dry Tortugas, a category 4 with 130 mile per hour winds. Could it be stronger? It's possible. But here's where it gets scary. I want you guys to look at this. There's Tuesday at 1 p.m. 24 hours later, one of the strongest hurricanes in 100 years will be approaching Tampa Bay. They have not had a direct hit from a major hurricane since 1921. And I'll also show you why this could be quite a consequential storm if it takes this track. I don't want to forget about the Fort Myers area and Naples. There could be devastating storm surge in all of southwestern Florida as well. Evacuation orders have been issued for almost 1 million people. If you know anybody that lives in these evacuation zones, please tell them to leave. This is a very serious storm. But let me show you this. There's Wednesday at 1 p.m. Look what happens. 24 hours later, it only moves barely to Tampa. So it goes from there to there in 24 hours. They could have an onslaught of winds off the Gulf that lasts for up to 24 hours or longer, and then it slowly begins to weaken as it moves into Georgia, it looks like, during the week on Friday. Okay, so here's a look at the warnings that are now in effect. Right where you see the red, that's the Tampa Bay area. It's in red. Hurricane warning. Fort Myers is in orange. That's a hurricane watch. Now notice, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, no watches or warnings. West Palm Beach is not in this tropical storm watch. So for the southeast coast of Florida, if you know folks from West Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale and Miami, they're not in this one. Now they may have some squalls and some brief heavy rain and some flooding that happens, but the real action appears to be in central Florida and especially the west coast of Florida. I was a little remiss in leaving Orlando off of this, but Orlando is under a tropical storm warning, and they're going to have major problems with rainwater flooding as well. This is where it gets serious. Now, let me show you what you're looking at. This is our Viper storm surge model. We used it a lot during 2020, during 2021. Now we're doing it this year. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard a lot about why we're so concerned about the Tampa Bay area for storm surge, but let me explain to you why. Here's St. Petersburg, there's Tampa, and this is known as Tampa Bay. Look how this bay is shaped. If you have a storm that is coming in from the southwest to the northeast, it has the potential to push enormous amounts of water into the northern part of the bay. Now, this is a deterministic storm surge model, meaning this is based on the latest track from the Hurricane Center. It could vary a lot. So that's why we've got evacuations going all the way down to the Fort Myers area where they could have major problems there as well. But look here in the northern tip. You see the purple in there? That's going 12 to almost 18 feet potential storm surge in the northern end of Tampa Bay. They have not seen water like this in, again, 100 years. If it materializes this way, this is the worst case scenario based on the current Hurricane Center track. And believe me, that is scary enough. So that's why we have all this concern in Tampa Bay for tonight. So that's the storm surge angle. Here's a satellite picture tonight. And there's a storm continuing to intensify just south and east of the western tip of Cuba. And right where those purple thunderstorms are blowing up, that's where the center is. Let's put the track on. Here's how it's been tracking pretty steadily to the northwest for the last 24 hours. The core of the hurricane passing just to the west of the Cayman Islands. Also, if you have friends in Cozumel and Cancun, they're going to miss the storm. It's kind of gusty there, and they may have some showers, but the worst of the hurricane is passing off to the east. Here we have the hurricane hunters. These are the hurricane hunters that are currently in the storm. And let's go ahead and plot the latest track on them. They should start flying into the scene any moment now. Okay, here it comes. They're flying in from Biloxi. 967 was their last fix. So that's the only fix we got from this particular hurricane hunter. But that's where we got the 965 millibar pressure. There's a pretty small core with Ian right now. It's not a very big hurricane, but it's expected to get bigger. Let's look at tropical storm force wind chances. Here's the chance of seeing winds. All right, these are the chances of seeing tropical storm force winds of 39 miles per hour or greater. Pensacola, probably not. Tallahassee, could happen. Where's the real strike zone? Key West, Cape Coral, which is around the Fort Myers area, and Tampa. So at least we're going to see tropical storm conditions there. And look, it may extend to the East Coast from Melbourne even to Jacksonville. 50% is a very high number considering that these winds may not get to Jacksonville for several days. Now, what about hurricane force winds? Now, you may not have noticed the graphic change, but this is the chance of winds of 74 miles per hour or greater. Very high numbers from Tampa to Fort Myers and around Cape Coral. That's where we think the highest risk of hurricane force winds are. But, you know, right there in and around Key West, that's certainly going to be a possibility as well. Here is a look at the wind field on Ian. This will kind of give you an idea of, you know, when we think the worst of these winds are likely going to show up across the area. Also notice the wind field does get much larger during the day on Wednesday. Now, they don't explicitly show hurricane force winds all the way out to Thursday morning because the Hurricane Center does not predict them that far out. But just pretend that these are hurricane force winds and certainly hurricane force gusts. That's covering most of the Tampa Bay area, possibly as far south as Fort Myers. And the yellow area, those are winds of 39 to 57 miles per hour, so at least minimal tropical storm force winds covering a good part of the northern and central parts of the peninsula. Again, not so much in far south Florida around Miami and also Fort Lauderdale. Here's our cone and wind threat, and I meant to take the, well, that's just as well that it happened that way. This is a different way, and I meant to put the cone on, but you guys will get the idea. This is kind of combining the cone with the wind speed probabilities where the most likely area for hurricane force winds are. Again, that's what I just showed you, from near Fort Myers into the Tampa Bay area with a chance of tropical storm force winds surrounding that. That is where the highest chances appear to be. Bob wants to know, what's the category by Thursday? It weakens to a 1. We'll go back to the track in just a minute, Bob. You might have missed it, but by Thursday we expect it to be inland and weakening to a category 1, but it'll still be pushing a ton of water onshore into Tampa Bay, and that's what the problem is. All right. Computer models, they're becoming less and less important as the track is becoming more certain. The only difference is what I was telling you earlier, the storm surge threat for the Tampa area is so sensitive to the track that little wobbles down to the last day or so could make the difference. But the European model, not much change. On Wednesday, just about all of them now are agreeing that there's going to be a recurve into the Tampa Bay area, maybe as far south as Fort Myers, but you can see how all those reds sort of solidify, and you can't even see the land through there. We got one or two that are out here, but you know, we can probably discount them. But the bulk of the storms are the ensemble runs for the European, again, are beginning to hone in on the Tampa Bay area. Here's a look at the GFS model, or the American model, as you'll hear a lot of us talk about. And again, there's Wednesday, a bunch of them curving into Tampa, but more of them also heading offshore and into the Panhandle. Now, I've got another graphic I'm going to make for later tonight at 10 to show you that if it does parallel the coast and go toward the Panhandle, say toward Panama City, it's going to weaken probably pretty rapidly because there's going to be a lot of wind shear showing up. But not as many of the GFS models explicitly turn the storm into Tampa. They're kind of split about 50-50. If we look at some of our best hurricane models, again, and a lot of these are run off of the GFS, more of them are showing that turn into the Tampa Bay area. A couple of them are out to the west, like that GFS, and there's the GFS mean in the green right there. But a significant number of our best models are turning into Tampa. And here's what I also want to show you. Remember how I talked to you guys about the consensus maps and the consensus models, I mean? Now I've put the black line on there. I made it really thick. That's the consensus model, the TVCN. And that's sort of a blend of our best model that gives us an average. This shows a worst case scenario of a turn moving from southwest to northeast in Tampa. So if it does materialize that way, and that's basically the center line from the National Hurricane Center, this is going to be one historic storm for the Tampa area, one like they have never seen in modern times. Unless you're over 100 years old and you're in Tampa, you will not have been through a storm like this. I need to fix that graphic. That's the one I'm going to show you guys later on, the wind shear one, but that's not quite ready. Look what's happening right now. This is current clouds and radar. There's a big squall that's moving through the Upper Keys and into South Miami-Dade. So yeah, it's going to be stormy in South Florida tomorrow, that's for sure. And that could have some impact on flights getting out of the airports in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. But the core of the hurricane tomorrow should not be an impediment to that. And there you can see the true part of the hurricane just now beginning to approach from the south. There's Havana, Cuba, and there's off the west coast of Cuba where the worst of the hurricane currently is. Look at the rain potential the next 7 days. Not going to rain here. We'll talk about that in a second. You see the pinks here offshore? That's over 20 inches of rain. Basically, the whole state has a chance of 5 to up to 10 inches of rain over the next week, the bulk of which, of course, will come over the next 3 or 4 days the way it looks right now. Now, what's going to happen back here? We're going to have some wind, okay? But we're going to have not damaging wind, nice breezy wind, way removed from the hurricane, and also the cold front that's moving in tonight. So take a look at these wind gusts. Here's tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. This is for the South Shore. It'll be kind of breezy on the North Shore too, though. 22, 25. But it's going to get even windier than this as Ian makes its closest approach to us, meaning as it gets parallel with us, more or less, that'll increase the wind gradient. And so on Wednesday, it's going to be pretty much downright a windy day the way it looks. But here's the next 7 days. Check this out. That's pretty nice. Look at these lows. 50 on Thursday morning. So breezy tomorrow, downright windy on Wednesday, and still breezy Thursday. And it stays nice, warm, and dry with outstanding fall weather coming up over the next 7 days the way it looks now. Don't forget, some of you are watching this Facebook Live through our Fox 8 Weather app, which you can download at fox8live.com, or you're probably watching on a tablet right now. If you want to hold your camera up to that QR code, it'll take you right to the web page on our website where you can download our weather app, news apps, and of course all of our sports apps as well. Let me see now if I can get us back to try to get us back to my original graphic. Let's see. No, that's not the one I want. No, I don't want that one either. Let's see. I don't want that either. Well, I may not be able to get us there. Let's see. I am going to get us there. Just hold on just 1 second. I am going to get it to you. Get you that graphic. All right, let's see here. If we get back to... Well, come on, David. Let's see here. Oh, we're in the... Now I see what's going on. Well, hold on, guys. This may get a little bit unorthodox, but I think you guys can roll with it. Let's see here. Because some of you did not see the advisory when we first came on. So let me go ahead and show you that. Okay, let's see here. Get that recentered up. Okay, so here is the latest advisory that came in if you missed it. Ian is currently a Category 2, 100 mile per hour winds, moving north-northwest at 13. It's expected to be a 3 later tonight or during the day tomorrow. And then watch what happens. It's a 4 by Tuesday afternoon. That's a Category 4, 130 mile per hour winds. And then watch Wednesday and Thursday. And Bob was asking earlier about Thursday. So here's Wednesday. I mean, there it is. One of the strongest hurricanes in modern times, if this verifies, approaching Tampa from the southeast. So that's Wednesday. Look where the storm is Thursday. It really slows down. Thursday, and there's the Friday position. Thursday is right there. So that's Thursday. That's Wednesday. That will be terrible for these areas. We don't hope that happens, but it will be encountering land and it will be encountering wind shear, and that's why we think it should begin to weaken once that is the case. So again, guys, we've got a terrible storm on our hands. It's not our storm this time. It's the west coast of Florida storm, and a good part of Florida for that matter, except the panhandle when it comes to also the wind and rain impacts. And this may cause significant rains into parts of Georgia and the Carolinas later this week. So I'm going to head out over to the station. Bruce is there right now. Be sure to join us on Fox 8 News at 9 and 10. And as always, stay safe.